Have you noticed that no one's really talking about it openly? But something odd is definitely going on at Newcastle. It's not just the delay in signings, it's the atmosphere. Inside the corridors of St. James Park, what you see is tension, silence, and urgent decisions being made far from the spotlight. Something big is brewing, and we're not talking about ordinary transfer rumors. Emergency meetings, changes behind the scenes, and growing concern from Eddie Howe are starting to take over the club. And if you think everything is under control, you might want to think again. This isn't just another transfer window. The tension behind the scenes suggests Newcastle's leadership is dealing with pressure that goes far beyond simply searching for new signings. Manager Eddie Howe is more restless than ever, and internal sources say he's been demanding urgency from the board. Time is ticking, pre-season is approaching, and rival clubs are moving fast, leaving Newcastle behind in terms of activity. By the way, if you're a passionate fan and want to follow every step of this critical moment, make sure to subscribe to the channel. That helps us keep bringing you hot updates straight from behind the scenes and ensures you stay informed about everything that really matters at Newcastle United. And yes, now more than ever, it's time to stay alert. The next decision could have major consequences for the club's future. Internally, things are heating up. The club is facing dilemmas involving big names and big money. A bid for Anthony Elanga has already been rejected, but strong rumors suggest Newcastle are preparing a fresh approach. Meanwhile, other targets are still being monitored. The board wants to act, but they're struggling with the challenge of balancing the books, staying within PSR profit and sustainability rules, and still building a squad strong enough to compete at the top next season. And this is where the tension hits its peak. According to confirmed information from journalist Lee Ryder at Chronicle Live, an emergency meeting was held between Eddie Howe, head of recruitment Steve Nixon, and Andy Howe. The goal: to reassess priorities, review proposals, and try to fast-track at least one signing before pre-season begins. The pressure is on, time is short, and the club now risks missing out on the market, or even worse, losing a key player from the current squad. The name causing the most anxiety behind the scenes is Alexander Isac. Yes, you heard right. The striker, the star, the focal point of the attack. Rumours of a potential bid from Liverpool have been gaining traction, and the idea of a massive offer is starting to worry the club. After all, if the Reds put serious money on the table and offer to double his current wages, could Newcastle really hold on to him? When asked last month, Eddie Howe couldn't guarantee that Isac would stay. That alone was enough to unsettle the fan base even further. And here's the critical point. The only real way to ensure Isac stays would be through a new contract, something that hasn't happened yet. So the club faces a dangerous dilemma: lose their most valuable asset, or risk a financially heavy extension. That's why your subscription to this channel matters so much. Every click, every new subscriber helps this project stay strong, delivering news from reliable sources like Chronicle Live, which has been closely following this entire situation. The goal here is simple: to make sure you, the fan, are never left in the dark about what's happening behind the curtains at Newcastle. And trust us, the next few days could define everything. Back to the current situation. The bonus transfer window between June 1st and 10th closed without any major signings for Newcastle. Since the end of the season, after the final whistle against Everton, the club has been overtaken by rivals like Chelsea, Brighton, and even Manchester United in terms of transfer activity. Meanwhile, Liverpool and Manchester City have continued spending heavily, piling more pressure on Eddie Howe and his recruitment team. Of course, the board doesn't want to act recklessly. Sources close to the PIF, which funds the club, have made it clear that they'll only consider deals they view as fair. That means the club won't give in to inflated asking prices like what happened with failed moves for João Pedro Elanga and Antoine Semenyo. All three became bidding wars, with fees climbing beyond £65 million, a level Newcastle aren't willing to accept without careful evaluation. And this brings up a second major issue. If the club isn't willing to overspend, and at the same time refuses to sell key names like Isac, how do they balance the books? That's why pressure is mounting on players considered more expendable. Names like Sean Longstaff, Matt Targett, Joe Willock, Martin Dubravka, and even goalkeeper Odysseus Vlachodimos have all been linked with exits. But would the money raised from these sales really be enough in today's inflated market? The situation becomes even more complicated when you consider that pre-season kicks off in less than 2 weeks, and the planning includes a tour of the Far East. Last summer, Newcastle traveled to Japan with modest additions like Lloyd Kelly and Ruddy, while bigger deals were delayed. This time the goal is to avoid a repeat. Howe wants all signings ready and integrated before the trip, but with the market stagnating, that's becoming a tough ask. Fans who live and breathe this club know that periods of turbulence are part of football, but they also know when something bigger is brewing. And that's exactly where Newcastle find themselves now. The departure of sporting director Paul Mitchell is not expected to affect ongoing business directly, according to Chronicle Live, but his absence doesn't help at a time that demands fast, strategic decisions. And if you've made it this far, it's a clear sign that you truly care about the future of Newcastle United. So take a moment and subscribe to the channel now. It's not just a way to stay informed, it's a way to support the work that brings you meaningful updates daily. That matters more than ever, especially during a critical moment like this. The coming days at St. James Park promise to be intense. The board now understands that without swift action, next season could begin with a weakened squad and fans questioning whether the club's leadership is fully committed to success. The window is open, the market is heating up, and the clock is ticking. Eddie Howe needs answers, and fans want proof that the growth project won't be derailed. Meanwhile, the rumor mill keeps spinning. The name of Mark Gahey has resurfaced behind the scenes, and there are signs that another attempt to sign him could come this week. However, Crystal Palace's asking price remains high, another hurdle to clear. Fresh offers for Elanga and Semenyo also remain on the table. It all depends on what's decided in the internal meetings, which continue happening almost daily. The current landscape is uncertain but not without hope, because Newcastle fans know that even in tough times, the club has continued to grow, and that's why you should keep following everything here with us. Every new subscriber shows that the fan base is alert, engaged, and determined to see this club thrive both on and off the pitch.